Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about Congress and its elected officials. So, for starters, how many members are there in Congress overall? Remember, Congress includes both the House of Representatives and the Senate. In the Senate, there are a total of 100 members, and in the House of Representatives, there are a total of 435 that are representing the states. Now, in the House of Representatives, however, there are 5 non-voting members and 1 non-voting resident commissioner. For the non-voting members of the 5, they include American Samoa, Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Washington, D.C., and the Northern Mariana Islands, and the non-voting resident commissioner is from Puerto Rico. These states, or these territories, in fact, may not be able to vote, but they do have the same rights as any other member in the House, such as being able to debate, being able to bring up new legislation, and have the same privileges. However, they cannot be part of the voting process. Each state has 2 senators, and the number of representatives in the House for each state depends on the state's population after each census. So, for example, if a state's population were to decrease and another increases, the state that loses the population may lose a seat in the Senate, in the House, and the other state that had an increase in population will gain a seat. Now, during the beginning or earlier parts of the 20th century, the United States started seeing an increase of states. They were accepting more and more. So this became a problem. There were more and more representatives being added. So in 1929, Congress passed the Reappropriations Act. This basically made it official that there were only going to be 435 members in the House of Representatives. It also laid out the foundation of how they were going to calculate the populations for each representative. So currently it stands around average 650,000 people equals 1 representative. So the House of Representatives. So in order, the qualifications are laid out in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 2 of the Constitution. And the requirements are pretty simple. You must be 25 years old, must be a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years, and must live in the state from where you are trying to be elected from. So you cannot be living in Arizona, but run for the House of Representatives here in California. You have to have, or at least live, in the area where you are trying to be voted into. They're voted by the constituents from their districts every 2 years. So meaning, here in San Diego County, for example, we have several representatives for the House. So you can't, so the people who are voting you in have to be from your specific area and region. And we'll talk about more about the districts here in a later slide. There are currently only 7 states with only 1 representative. Alaska, Delaware, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Vermont, and Wyoming. This is because of their low populations. California has the highest with 53, and the second highest is Texas with 36. If you look at the chart on the right side right here, you'll see after the 2010 census, we see which states have gained and lost representatives, and it shows you the overall numbers for the representatives. So this is why having the census is a huge deal and factor every 10 years. Because it can truly shift the balance of power in certain states and regions. So, representatives in their districts. So each state is required to draw up districts, and each district should have at least the same amount of population in geographic shape. However, this is not the case in practice. There is a practice known as gerrymandering throughout the decades, not even just only in the 20th and 21st century, but this has been going on since the 19th century as well. So basically the main idea behind gerrymandering is that districts would have odd geographic features and outlines that would try to thin out the opposition as much as possible to win comfortably in that area. So regardless of what party that's in power in that region, they would try to affect the outcome. So if we look at the right side right here, we'll see how gerrymandering is explained in a visual way. So let's say hypothetically we have a district with 50 people. 60% is blue, 40% is red. In a perfect representation, you would draw up these 5 different lines. You would have 3 districts in blue, 2 districts in red. So that's equal representation. In the second example, compact but unfair, you have the districts lined up to where you have 5 blue districts and 0 red districts. So here the blue would win. Now in a situation where we want the red party to win, you would have to do something funky, and that is you have to draw up the district in a way where you can have more votes. So as you can see here in the third one, you have all these different shapes to draw out the districts, and by doing so, you have now two districts in the blue and 3 districts in the red. So we can see from here, from gerrymandering, from manipulating the districts, you are able to have more power and more seats in your state by gerrymandering. But gerrymandering has had its issues and oppositions over the years. Westbury versus Sanders, the SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, declared that Georgia was not dividing their districts evenly with the same amount of people. What they were doing, they were just dividing up the regions in their own way. Some districts may have, let's say hypothetically, 1,000 people, and other districts may have 10,000 people. Westbury versus Sanders basically laid out the foundation that every single district should at least try to have the same amount of population in terms of numbers. Then we have Gamaliel versus Lightfoot. There were drawn up districts based on race, trying to win the vote on just pure race. Again, that was declared by the Supreme Court as unconstitutional. So those are some ways that gerrymandering has been fought over the years, but it's still occurring to this day. Now for the Senate. So the qualifications are laid out in Article 1, Section 3, Clause 3. You must be 30 years old, must be a citizen for at least 9 years, and you must live in the state that you are trying to be elected in. You are voted in every 6 years with no term limits. Same thing goes for the House of Representatives. There is no term limits in Congress. Senator terms are staggered, meaning that not all senators are voted in at the same time. So not all 100 of them are running for office again. It's every 2 years, however, that you'll at least see 1/3 of the Senate running for office again. So this allows in some ways for the Senate to be a continuous part of Congress. And again, instead of having districts vote for you, you have the entire state voting for your senator. So every state, again, has 2 senators, so the entire state will vote for that senator. So finally, the differences in both of them. Senate members tend to be much older than their representative counterparts. A lot of them have actually served in the House prior, or served in other higher standing parts of government. There's less prestige in the House. Again, many members of the Senate were House representatives, so there's this aura of the Senate being higher in terms of standards. Senators get more media attention. So there are stricter rules and limited debate in the House, so there isn't that much opportunity to really speak your mind as much as you want to, as opposed in the Senate, and we'll get to more details about how the Senate debates. Most of the work is done in committees in the House and in the Senate. They don't really discuss a lot of things on the floor just because of their vast numbers, especially almost 435 members, only one chamber, so it can get hectic in there. And the Senate approves and rejects treaties and presidential appointments. So really, you see the Senate having a little bit more power than the House. And right here we have a video that you can click on your own to look at some of the differences as well between the House and the Senate.